Well, then fundamentally we've got to treat them with
Sorry to interrupt
respect.
the honourable member. Her time has expired.
Kia ora.
I call Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I follow on from that member and also providing my first speech on this bill tonight. As at the third reading, it does seem rather late, but there are several core points of principle that explain the Greens' opposition to this bill that I would like to outline. Firstly, and it is an issue that's close to my heart, is we're opposing this on the basis that we see it as another erosion of human rights. And because somebody has committed a crime and is sentenced to a punishment, we have a system that actually acknowledges that the punishment, the incarceration, is the extent of that punishment, and there shouldn't be any further erosion of their human rights just because they're in prison. And this bill, we believe, will erode those rights in terms of extending the strip search, potentially limiting access to health care, and also by removing or requiring the person to pay more money out of their pocket towards costs that haven't necessarily been defined. We are very, very pleased at that the government has listened and engaged in the select committee process to the extent of that the submissions from the Labour Party and the Green Party in regards to extending strip searches without managerial approval now have conditions on it, and also that the ability to put prisoners in maximum security has also been taken out, and that is a win from our perspective. However, the bill and the changes have not gone far enough, sadly. I don't think we should need to explain why human rights are important in this House, but I just get the sense, and I've been very surprised by it in my involvement in this political process, that there does seem to be a need to explain the importance of human rights. And as the Human Rights Commission and many other submitters noted, that respect for human dignity is a fundamental and universal human rights obligation. It's not something that we can put conditions on. And that is just something in itself. And when we developed these human rights, our thinking around that post-World War II, there were really clear and obvious reasons for holding human rights dear. And I do worry that we are losing that sense of consciousness. But beyond that in itself of being important, there's also very clear reasons for supporting the human rights of prisoners, because supporting them is clearly linked to people's reintegration and rehabilitation. It reduces conflict in prisons, increases the chances of rehabilitation, and ultimately that's what gives us a safer society. So it is a very sad thing to see legislation continually coming before this House that bit by bit erodes the human rights of prisoners, because ultimately we're all going to pay by a less safe society. Just to speak a little bit more in terms of the strip searches, and I've heard other colleagues in the House raise this issue of those people who are in our prisons actually, while they have committed crimes, we have clear evidence that they are some of our most vulnerable people, and particularly the women the majority of them have experienced sexual abuse and violence in their life, and to increase strip searches of them and to make that actually mandatory if they're needing to be put into detention to protect them seems unusually cruel to me, particularly when the evidence shows that it will do nothing to protect them or even act as a safeguard against the entry of contraband into the prisons. So here we are, actively invading people's privacy and bodily integrity for an ideological gain is the only thing I can see in it. And that, to me, is a tragic thing, I have to say. Another reason that we're opposing this bill, finally, is that it's been stated we
I'm
oppose
sorry to
a
interrupt the
principle-
honourable member. Her time has expired. I call Tim McIndoe.
Mr Speaker, we've had several cricketing analogies since the dinner adjournment, and while a few of the previous speakers